over the rainbow, where dreams are better than life. There's nobody to save. I sit alone with my head through the sky. Yes, I'm wondering, never asking why. I just see inside, see inside.
Hello, and welcome to the Mechanics of the Maya definition. And today we're going to look at what is the plurality of humanity. Approximately 45% of humanity have split definition. Split definition is when you have two specific aspects in your design, defined areas in your design, and they simply do not connect to each other. And the interesting thing about split definitions, after all, they're 45% of humanity, so, there's at least 3 billion human beings with split definition, that it is this split definition that is, in so many ways, the background drive behind our need to bond with the other. The split definition, by its very nature, is always looking for bridges that are going to bring those two aspects together. And for no other kind of defined being, only the split definition is left in this dilemma in which the wholeness, the quality, the essence of the way they feel about their life is going to be dependent on the other. Not everybody's equipped for that. Not everybody is left angle and transpersonal. Not everybody has social dynamics in their design. Not everybody is equipped within the nature of their design to easily fulfill what is a demand of being a split definition. And it is inherent in split definitions that the places between the splits become the places where their not-self themes emerge. And what I mean by that, if we're looking at split definitions, we're looking at 3 different types. That is, obviously, reflectors, not having defined areas, do not have split definitions. But if we're looking at split definition as it operates in manifestors and in generators and in projectors, those areas between the split, these become the sources of anger in the manifestor, frustration in the generator, and bitterness in the reflector. It's all about needing to have something that's not yours to have. That is, it's not inherent in you. It is not built into you. It is something that's hanging there in front of you. The split definition goes through this ordeal in their process. This ordeal of only finding that sense of completeness in themselves, in the auras of others, and how misleading that can be. The fact that somebody creates a bridge for you as a split definition does not mean they are for you. There are so many different human beings who can fulfill that. There are planets in the transit program that can fulfill that. The question is, can you discern who is the right other? I mean, before I go into any description of the inherent, dilemmas in being a split definition, the very first thing is about the other. It's always going to be about the other for the split definition, always. So how do you take the other into your life? I mean, this is really the only question. Because if you don't take the other in correctly, according to what it is that you are, whether you're the manifestor informing or the generator responding or the projector waiting for the invitation, it is the only way that you're going to be able to enter into a bond correctly. By the way, the fact that you enter into something correctly doesn't mean that it automatically is going to be idyllic, last forever, and be perfect. That's not the point. The point is to enter into something correctly so that no matter what transpires in that relationship, that ultimately it is an experience that is of value to you as a being. Being a split definition, everything is about your discernment of the other. Who is that other, and do they belong in your life? Now I'll come back to that, but let's take a look at the two kinds of split definitions, because there's two kinds. There is the simple split, and what I mean by that is you've got two areas of definition, and they are obviously split from each other, but there is a hanging gate out of one area of definition, and all it takes is one gate to bring those two areas of definition together. One bridging gate. So if you have a split definition and it takes just one bridging gate, now that may be in a few different places, but simply the one step to bring the bridge together, this becomes for you, in terms of the way in which your psychology develops from the time you come into the world, this becomes the thing that you think you lack. You lack. You know, you don't have that gate at the other end. And not having that gate at the other end is about you not having what that thing is. Let's say you're sitting in the spleen and you have the 48th gate. And all you need for that bridge is the 16th gate in the throat. Now you've got the 48th gate, it's a gate of depth. But you're not paying any attention to that. What you really want are the skills at the other end. And you become totally absorbed in those skills at the other end, which have nothing to do with you. And yet you think you lack them. Oh, if I had this skill or that skill, if I could learn this thing or that thing, wow, all of a sudden my whole life is going to be different. Because you think it's something you lack. And of course, depending on the nature of your design, this can become a larger and larger and larger dilemma for you in your life. I lack this, I lack that. You always chase it, even when you get it. Oh, think about what that's like. You have a hanging gate. All you need is the bridge at the other end. It seems ideal, right? There's that bridge. Wow, I found it. But this is an electromagnetic connection. In partnership, an electromagnetic connection, where one person has one gate in a channel and the other person has the other gate. What this leads to is both attraction and repulsion. Oh, the attraction is automatically there. Wow, you have what I don't have and I can get it from you. You know, and the repulsion comes with, why do I always have to get this from you? Why can't I have my own? Maybe I can get my own someplace else because I don't always want this from you. You see, if you're a split definition and you've got that gate that can be the bridge, if you're not self, if you're making decisions with your mind, this is the thing that's conditioning you. If you're a single definition or a triple split definition, it's centers that dominate your conditioning. But if you're a split definition or a quadruple split definition, it is the bridges that dominate your conditioning. That 16th gate that's missing for that person dominates the way their mind works. I got to get the skills. I've got to learn the skills. Now I got to focus on this skill that I think I need that may be able to change my life, and I've got to work with this. And so the mind says to you, say no to that person who's offering you that thing, or say no to going out for that evening because, whoa, you're working on developing that skill. It changes the whole way you function. It changes your relationship to the other. It changes your connections with other human beings. See, human design is about understanding the power of conditioning, and that it lives exclusively in your mind. It's in your mind. Those bridging places that you're looking for, they haunt you. They haunt you. If you have a few of them and you string them together, you end up with your whole not self-purpose. Not self-purpose, not true purpose, not self-purpose. The not self-purpose of that person with the 48 who doesn't have the 16. Their purpose is to find the holy skill. You know, the ultimate skill that's going to change everything for them and release their talent into the world. That's all they think about. Look, openness is a very special thing. It's our receptors. No interesting movie with no receptors. But as receptors, they can operate in two ways, like everything. the this and the that, the positive and the negative. It can take you away deep into conditioning, transform the way your mind works, and you lose your life. Or it can become wisdom. Because you see, that 48 that doesn't have the 16, they're here to recognize who has skills and which skills are suitable to their depth. They don't have to spend all those years developing the skills. They don't. They're here to provide depth for those that have a skill. And of course, you become wise. You recognize those that have good skills or bad skills, the right skills or the wrong skills, relative to you. You're no longer caught in the movie that I have to be able to do that. You see, it's so easy to get lost. It's so easy because the mind will take that openness and overwhelm you with that, and it becomes the purpose for you in your life. All right, now let's think about the other kind of split. Not the split that has, this simple one gate to make the bridge. But let's say that you're a split definition and it takes a channel or more. In other words, a whole channel has to be defined from the outside in order to bring your split together, or even more than that, several channels, maybe even as many as 3 channels to bring together those aspects. This is no longer your problem. You're not the single bridge person that looks across and says, oh, I need that. It has to be me. I have to have that. I've got a problem because I don't have that. But you see, if you have the broad bridge, it's everybody else has the problem, which is why I don't have it. It's not because I, don't have the skills. Nobody out there has any skills. And because nobody out there has any skills, I have to try to figure out the skills. The not-self works in mysterious ways. So the moment that a bridge for you is more than a gate, it's never you that has the problem, which of course can be both a positive and a negative, like everything else. An inability to see that there is anything wrong at all. As a matter of fact, the broader the split, the more convinced the being is in their psychology that it's everybody else that has a problem and not them. And if everybody else was all right, they would be all right. But it leads back to the same dilemma. They cannot feel whole without that bridge in place. They cannot. And because that bridging is going to involve so much more of the other to make all those connections, that this becomes a very, very powerful force in these beings' lives. You see, this is the whole thing about being a split definition. It's the whole thing to grasp about being a split definition. Everything about the possibility of who you are is determined by your relationships. Everything. Everything. And if you're lost in the psychology of what your split brings to you, you're blind to see those forces that are correct for you in this life. Blind to them. On one side, blind because you think that you don't have it and will never have it, and blind on the other side because you think that nobody will ever have it, thus you will not have it. Because it's not about you. Not about you in the pure sense. It's always going to be about you in your relationship with the other. And this is not about dependency. One of the real dilemmas of the split definition is dependency. To get stuck with that aura that fulfills the dynamics of, what you need in your split definition, but not really have the right being there as part of the package. It's why you have to be so careful. It's why you have to take your distance from the way in which your mind operates. See it for what it is. You have a split definition, look at your bridges. Look at those single gate bridges. Look at all those channels or gates or all of those ways that are possible if you have a broad split. And look and see what you're looking at. What you're looking at is causing you all this pain in this life. On one side, you're desperate to find the other, to find that bridge, only to be disappointed. And on the other side, you're too blind to see that there's anybody there that could be of value to you, because you think they all have a problem. And you see, all of this is remedied the moment that you step outside of the framework of the way in which you've been making decisions in your life. Human design's about decision making. You know, the science of differentiation is deeply complex and profound. But the mechanics of being correct in this life is very simple. It's deeply, deeply simple. That strategy and authority is the only thing that's going to provide a split definition with the most important tool they have to have in this life. The ability to recognize, to discern who belongs in their aura at any given time in any kind of relationship. Because this is what makes the difference for them. Think about it this way. Those bridges, however they are, single, long ones, it's like having somebody's, parts grafted into you. I mean, pardon the sort of messy description, but you have to really see how influential it is to have somebody constantly being the bridging mechanism in your wholeness. It's one of the things about being a split definition and the dilemma or the danger of dependency. Step outside of your split often. You have a relationship with somebody. It can be a correct relationship and a fine relationship, but it still means that you can't afford to be locked into it 24/7. You can't. And you also need those opportunities in a split definition partnership to go into public places. To go out together into public places where the background aura changes the ordinary way in which you communicate with each other. But you see, as a split definition, you have to see that the risk is always there that you will be dependent. And for the not-self, all of that not-self, the 3 billion out there, boy, are they dependent. They're deeply dependent. And most of them resent it. Because the fact is that they're not getting out of this what's possible for them. How are they going to be aligned if the very thing that binds them within themselves is from a being that's not correct and not correct for them? It doesn't work. See, as a split definition, you have to see there's one rule and one rule only. It's about making sure that you're in charge of who's in your life, that you have absolute authority over who's in charge of your life. It's you. It's not about giving authority to those beings that can fulfill that potential for you. As I said, there's an endless number of them that can do that. It's not like you need to find a needle in a haystack. It's all over the haystack. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And you see, from the mental point of view, because of the nature of the way in which conditioning operates on us, we are not able to discern that. You cannot tell that. You've got a split definition and somebody steps into your aura and, it feels good and the split is connected and, that can happen with any number of human beings. It doesn't mean they're for you. It doesn't mean they're correct for you. It doesn't. There's only one thing within you that can make such a decision. It's why you have a strategy and authority. It allows you to bypass all that pressure on you from the mental plane, the way you've been conditioned mentally to look at things and decide. You can't really see. If your whole life has been about trying to find skills, you've missed out on everything. And this is what happens to splits. They live their entire lives, chasing bridges that constantly fall and collapse. Because it's never them, and they don't know that. They don't. It's why we have so many fundamental dilemmas in the way in which we relate to each other. Split definitions are the plurality on this planet. It means they have an enormous influence over us culturally and in terms of our civilizations. The split definition is the force that locks us into the pair bonding game, and all of the manifestations of it that are, underlined by our genetic imperative. It's the split definition that brings that genetic imperative to an essential. It brings it instantly to the surface and says, I need the other. So you have to be equipped. Because the other side of that is, who else is there to refine this process? Who else is there to exalt this process of what relationships are intended to be? It is only the split definition in its awareness that can have, in that sense, a symbiosis with the other that is both fulfilling and, non-detrimental to them. Just a conduit for the fulfillment of their process. But all of that begins with being able to make the decision who. Now I know that most of you looking at this are already locked into all kinds of who's, aren't you? The families that you're a part of, the relationships that you have, the families that you may have yourself, all of these things. And none of which, if you go back in the line of all of that, other than some rare serendipities, ever came into being correctly. It's quite a place to be in your life. But you see, this is not about, trying to disrupt the nature of one's life. The fact that you're already here is that you already know that it has not been correct for you. Follow your strategy and authority and redefine your relationships. As a split definition, you will notice more than anybody else that as you follow your strategy and authority, relationships will naturally fade away. Naturally. Because they don't work for you. And they're not correct for you, and you can only discover that through your strategy and authority, because mentally you have all of this artificial, not self-purpose memory that you're storing. All of those things that you thought were so important for you to have, that you needed, that all of those things that turned out to be your curse. Most human beings have absolutely no idea what they need. They don't. The mind isn't going to tell you that. The mind doesn't lead you to where you're intended to be. The mind is in lockstep with the program. It's all about conditioning. It's all about maintaining the Maya. It's not about letting human beings put their head through the sky. You see, as a split definition, if you want to be correct in this life, redefine your relationships. There is no other way. And what I mean by that is deal with your relationships according to your strategy and authority, because again, there is no other way. If you no longer as a generator respond, then you know quite clearly that it is a relationship that is not for you. These are things that are absolutely essential for the split definition to understand. Most split definitions come to human design with this assumption that their whole purpose is that they've got to simply understand their nature. But it's not. It's not. It's about coming to grips with the phenomena that both understanding your nature and the possibilities that are inherent in you are not something that once you take that information you can just do. Because every platform for every transformation that's going to take place in your life is going to take place through bridges. Now, not all those bridges are going to come from humans, particularly for those beings who have single gate bridges. Long-term transits by outer planets, the nodes. These are the kinds of things that will, bring very long-lasting conditioning phenomena that you're going to get other than from another being. But in the end, it's still not who you are. It's only when you follow your strategy and authority that you get to align yourself to where you're supposed to be, what's there to see for you, and those things that are going to open up for you in order for you to fulfill your purpose. And as a split definition, without the tool, without being able to discern who is correct for you, with simply being lost in the way in which your mind defines that for you, you don't get out. You never get out of the trap. You never free yourself of the suffering. You never free yourself of the bitterness or the frustration or the anger. You just don't get rid of it. It's not the way that you're intended to be. See, I look at the split definition and I see it as a thing of beauty, really. It's the only definition construct, in a sense, that really makes a sacrifice. I mean, makes the sacrifice of the acceptance that one cannot do things on one's own, that one is not here to be alone, and we're not here to be alone. Everything about what I see within the nature of the construct is all about what it is to be here with the other. We are not alone. It is the very nature of this bioform to congregate, to reproduce, to group together. There is nothing we can do about that. Yet the refinement of that process, the exaltation of that process is possible through the awareness of the split definition. Because when the split definition, in its correctness, embraces the other, it sacrifices nothing. Nothing. But when the split definition embraces in ignorance, it sacrifices everything. Everything. And usually everything to the benefit of whoever that other happened to be. Lost in the dependency, serving a force that is not correct, and ultimately just feeling, I was going to say disappointed, but I don't want to mix keynotes, just the sadness of it all. Don't have to be like that. Not at all. The joy of what it is to be with the right other is something that is incredibly special. And it is uniquely so for the split definition. So get your discerning trip together. It's very simple. Don't let your mind decide who belongs in your life. Don't allow others in your life other than according to what is correct for you. Don't let them enter into your life unless it's correct for you. Don't let them stay in your life unless it's correct for you. And only then are you really going to be able to fulfill your potential, regardless of bridges or no bridges. It's when you can transcend all of that. Strategy and authority. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. And until next time, bye for now.
I can do nothing but wait. I sit alone with my head through the sky. Yes, I'm wondering and never asking why. I just see inside.